Hello everyone, and welcome to CEO Diaries. Very excited to be live on Facebook and LinkedIn, and now also on YouTube, everywhere we are meant to be. So I'm your host, I'm Lauren Dallas, I'm CEO of Future Females. And as most of you know, this session is really designed to take you behind the scenes of Future Females itself and behind the glossy exterior of marketing messaging you often see businesses put out there, and share really what are some of the challenges in terms of building an online business, what are some of the struggles we're facing, some of the decisions that we've had to make, and the way that we've made them right or wrong, and essentially just share some knowledge that I hope helps you as you're growing your businesses as well. This is always much more fun when it's interactive, so I can see a bunch of people have now joined. So please do say hi. Let me know where you're based. Let me know what your business is. Interact, please, as we go through the session as well. Ask me any questions that come to mind. I want to start with an announcement about CEO Diaries itself. This is going to be the last time that we run CEO Diaries in this exact format. So we've been running this as a live weekly session for 6 or so months now, and possibly longer. And it's been amazing as a way to connect with all of you. We are going to take a slight pause on CEO Diaries and then relaunch it soon in a different format that we hope you're going to find even more value from. So next week, I won't be joining you at the same place at the same time as usual, but keep an eye out in a few weeks when we announce the revised and improved version of CEO Diaries. So just starting with that update, but we obviously do still have today's topic, which is very close to my heart. It's about building a business for purpose, and specifically sharing the work that we do at Future Females on our nonprofit side with all of you. So yesterday, I actually had an interview with Rachel Khaleesi. So a lot of you will know she runs the Khaleesi Foundation, as well as many, many other things that she does. And we were speaking about building for purpose. And she does this through her foundation, where they secure funding. They also then disperse that funding to execute different projects. And what a lot of you might not know is that Future Females also has an NGO arm. We actually have 2 nonprofits that we run, one in America, one based out of America, and one based specifically in South Africa. So I wanted to host this session to talk about why we set up that structure, how it's helped us as a vehicle for purpose, the benefits, some of the challenges as well, how we also get funding for our nonprofit, and kind of the support that I would suggest if you are thinking of setting up either a purpose-led vehicle as a for-profit or a nonprofit yourself, some of those roles that have really helped us execute effectively. So cool. Also, if you didn't catch the interview with Rachel Khaleesi, she's obviously a huge authority in this space, actually in terms of building business and community generally, but also specifically sharing how they're executing through her foundation. So it's available for all of our members already. It's uploaded inside the platform. If you are not already a member of Future Females, then you can join. All you need to do is click the link. Well, on different platforms, the link is in different places. The link in the caption associated with this live, just click through, sign up to the platform, and you'll be able to check out that interview, as well as obviously all of our other courses and trainings and resources and events inside there. Okay, awesome. So what better topic than purpose, right? I'll start by just telling you about our nonprofit so you have some context before I go into some of our learnings that I'd love to share with you. So we have a nonprofit called Future Females Empowerment Initiatives, and we set it up a couple of years after we started Future Females. So we've been running it for 3 or 4 years now. The reason that we set up the nonprofit was because although we were already doing work through our for-profit, we identified a huge benefit being international aid funding and corporate CSI funding. Those 2 buckets are much easier to access if you are a nonprofit. As a for-profit, there's a greater limit in terms of the different funding avenues that you can actually secure. So we were already doing work, and the purpose of our NGO is to provide access to education, business mentoring, and funding for women from underserved communities. So we focus on 6 countries. We focus on Brazil, Indonesia, Nigeria, Kenya, Namibia, and South Africa. And we focus on segments of the market who don't have access to support themselves and who can't financially afford to access the support that is available. So obviously it makes sense, given our holistic Future Females mission. It is very much about still supporting women to build businesses, profitable and sustainable and impactful businesses, but making that accessible to, all demographics. So that's the work that we do. And under our for-profit, we actually were already working with some international funders. Our biggest funder has been what's called the UK's International Tech Hub Network. They specifically focus on supporting tech-based business, women leading tech-based businesses to scale, obviously very well aligned to the work that we do. But what we learned was that a lot of funders internationally and locally require a nonprofit. So we set it up structurally for that benefit, but it ended up opening a lot more doors for us than we expected on day one. So before we set it up, we were doing this work in just one country. We decided to set our nonprofit up in the US, and it ended up allowing us to expand our nonprofit work to now the 6 countries that I mentioned we focus on. So bringing it back to building a business for purpose. Obviously, you don't have to have a nonprofit if you have a purpose-led business. Future Females generally is a business for profit and for purpose, and we never like to trade one off for the other. But because we wanted to add on to the purpose, the access for women that couldn't afford it, that's why we set up the nonprofit structure as well. So I mentioned the benefits is really opening up new funding avenues, being a nonprofit. There are also some pretty significant challenges of running a nonprofit itself. So number one is that there's a lot of compliance. So registering as a nonprofit is fairly easy, but being compliant as a nonprofit, as a tax-exempt nonprofit, has a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes. So I would suggest, if you are thinking about this, unless you are very operational and strong with compliance, to get that support into your business. My co-founder, Serena, a lot of you know, this is her strength. She's amazing. She finds it a lot. One of the things that you need to do is also get audited, which is, again, a big expense. I think our audit was $10,000 last year for our nonprofit. So it's something that you need to consider, not only just the setup, but can you maintain this as you're going forwards? The second big challenge that we faced is often funding you receive for projects in your nonprofit doesn't cover operating expenses for your nonprofit business. As with any business, there are overheads, right? There's the management layer that runs the business, and it's really hard to get a funder to actually pay for that. So we use our for-profit to pay for the management that also oversees the nonprofit. There are ways of doing this. There are funds that are available for operating budget. We personally have never been successful, though, in securing that money. So just to think about how you can kind of pay yourself, unless you are the one executing all of the work as well, which is going to be a lot. We have program managers for each project. Then you need to figure out how will you pay for business development and how will you pay for, I guess, oversight and management. There's the 2 big buckets of expense that, we knew was coming, but we didn't know we couldn't so easily cover from funding. Cool. So I think they're the 2 main challenges to think about. The next learning for us was the funding cycle itself. And I guess when you're thinking about sales in your business, in any format, whether you are actually getting a client that's a business or a government, or whether you're going for funding, the process that we go through is quite similar, but the timelines are long. I can tell you, I'm speaking to African Development Bank at the moment. I've wanted to partner with them for 3 years. I can see my email threads from the last 3 years. I even have an application I completed in 2017 to work with this bank. And only now, 6 years later, are we finally working on scoping a project. So the timelines are long. Last year, I submitted a proposal to the US government, and we still haven't heard back. And it's 10 months later, and we probably only will in the next 2 to 4 months. So I think being very realistic about how long it's going to take, particularly if you're trying to get a big funder on board, and a multi-year project, which obviously gives you some security, and we favor. Just be conscious of how long that can take, and potentially how long from starting your nonprofit through to actually being able to have it self-sustaining, in my experience, has been much longer than for a for-profit business, where you're probably making sales in month 1 or month 2. So how to get the funding? What's worked well for us is having a couple of streams of business development. So we call it proactive, reactive, and relationship building. So what I mean by that is reactive is when there's a tender. So you can, exactly, Audrey, take some patience. So reactive is where there's a tender and you are submitting your proposal. And then it is assessed against all of the other submissions. And there's normally a couple of rounds of review, feedback, or meetings before the funder decides which of the many proposals to go with. This is obviously a great opportunity because these people have a fund and a specific mandate. And so as long as you can match that mandate, like it makes sense for you, then you have quite a good opportunity in terms of securing funding. However, it's obviously very competitive because it's public. So it's a good opportunity, but I would say plan to win 1 in 10, unless you're an amazing, amazing proposal writer, but we base ours on like 1 in 10 that we submit. So there's quite a lot of work that goes into winning one. The second stream, so that's reactive, is proactive. There are a lot of funds out there that are what we call evergreen. So you can submit your proposal anytime, and they have kind of a rolling review process. So again, depending on your capacity, we do, like, say, 1 a month, 1 proposal that's evergreen a month. These often have a really long time before you get the feedback. And then the third stream, what we call, is relationship building. So how can you build relationships with funders and then, like, without the competitive process, submit your proposals for consideration? So this is a really good stream of focus, and also even to set as a KPI if you're working with corporates, for example. So corporate CSI goes to nonprofits typically, if not always. And so how can you be, creating your target list of corporates whose mission aligns with yours, whose values align, and starting to build relationships with those organizations, meet with the CSI person, understand their needs, and then submit, or even ideally co-create a proposal that meets both what you want to offer and meets the needs of that organization. So that is under our nonprofit, our fundraising approach. And having those 3 prongs has allowed us to have, I guess, more of a consistent stream of projects, or at least always have at least 1 project active and at least 1 coming up, which is what we work towards with these bigger clients. Let me pause for a second. Please do pop any questions you have into the chat as I'm going through. This is quite a lot of information, but I've never spoken on CEO Diaries about our nonprofit structuring before, so I'm normally always focused on the for-profit. So I'm curious what your questions are, because obviously it's a very, very different space. I see someone saying, I'm just starting my nonprofit. What's step 1? Step 1 is deciding on your mandate. So all nonprofits have a mandate which describes the work that they do. This is important because it's in your incorporation documents for your nonprofit. And actually what happens in a nonprofit, well, I can't speak for all countries, but in the countries we're established, what happens in a nonprofit if you ever close down is that any cash retained within the business gets transferred to another nonprofit with the same mandate. It also, if you're going for tax exemption, you'll need to show your kind of projects and expenses to stay compliant, and they need to align with your mandate. So step one, and with a for-profit, I'm always a big fan of like, just write your business plan on a single page and then keep going, because as you're executing, you're going to learn and you're going to pivot, and that's fine. With a nonprofit, it's a little bit harder to pivot later, just because you've got that mandate. You can change your mandate. We've changed ours as we've learned kind of where we can have the most impact, but it is something that's legally ingrained as well as strategically. So I think that's where I would advise starting. Spend some time on who is it that you want to serve, like, and how do you want to help them? We started by doing a lot of different things. We had a business development stream. We had an access to trade stream, and access to funding. We had a GBV, gender-based violence support stream. We had basically a train the trainer stream as well. A lot of different things. And then we've honed in now to make it a lot more concise. So now we just focus on business development through access to finance as well. So I would say start there. Figure that out. Look for the gaps as well. There's a lot of nonprofits, obviously, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So who is in the ecosystem of nonprofits in the space where you want to be having your impact? And maybe even chat to them, because they'll be your future collaborators, right? And just chat to them about, really, are they managing? Are they sustainable? Which is one of the hardest things when you only run a nonprofit, is to stay sustainable, particularly if you have dips in projects. Cool, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any more questions on that vein. Perfect. Okay, cool. Great. Then I thought I would also just touch on support needed. So if you are starting a nonprofit, what should your team look like? So I think that at Future Females, we started with an entirely volunteer-based team, and now we've built out, a full-time team, both within our for-profit and our nonprofit. So I would say there's 3 or 4 really key roles in the successful running of a nonprofit. One is your business development. So these are the people finding your funding, which is, for us, this is an everyday focus. It's not kind of when we get to the end of a funding cycle, because things take so long. So we work with, I lead this stream, but we work with a number of really strong fundraisers. One is great at relationship building, another is great at proposal writing, and then a few other like our ambassadors who refer leads. So every week we're checking in on our new business pipeline. So I would say first, you definitely need to have that, because that's your fuel. So business development. The second thing that you need is a compliance person. It could be you, but someone that's making sure that you are staying as a nonprofit and you're not going to get hit with a tax bill, right? And that you are compliant as well to your funders, which can take a lot. Every funder has different compliance requirements. They have metrics and reporting that needs to be done. They might require an audit even of your financials, or for you to manage their funds in a separate account and report back on that. It can become a lot, particularly if you have 5, 10 funders. So definitely someone that is strong in that compliance space. And then third is your executor. So who's actually going to be executing the projects that you want to run once you have the funding? Obviously also very important. So I think if you map out those 3 roles for you, they don't have to be different people, but typically they will be, because they're very different skill sets. I guess your compliance and executor could be the same person. But yeah, they're the 3 functions that I would definitely suggest looking to bring in, even as partners when you're setting up your nonprofit, and thinking about what that executive team is going to look like, making sure you have those 3 skills covered to some extent. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Let me know if you have any more questions. They are the key things that I wanted to go through. As I mentioned yesterday, I had an interview with Rachel Palisi. So who runs the Khaleesi Foundation. And she also went really into depth on how they manage their organization, her learnings to date, her how they do fundraising. So if you want to check out that interview as well, then just click through on the link in the caption here and jump into the Future Females platform, which is where the recording is stored. Perfect. Malini, let me pop this question up. Are there people or organizations able to develop proposals for funding? Yes, absolutely, Malini. There are both. We work with an amazing woman called Jennifer Seif. You can look her up online. And that is what she does. So she has a company and consults on fundraising. And then we work with someone else in a different company who kind of opens the doors. But as you say, it can take a really, really long time to develop your proposals. So I would keep in mind that initially you're going to be able to write about your business better than anyone else. But what we did was go through probably 6 months of co-writing. So Jennifer could learn and our other support could learn how we like to write about our business. And now I'm able to fully outsource or mostly outsource that work. Cool. Amazing. Yeah, it can become a lot, particularly if you are working on a 1 in 10 or 1 in 5, whatever your conversion rate is. It's quite a lot of proposal writing. Okay, awesome. Let me just check for any other questions. I think I covered that one for you, Susan, already. Let me know if not. Amazing. Okay, cool. Then I think we can close CEO Diaries shortly. I mentioned at the start that this is going to be the last time we run CEO Diaries in this format. We've been running it, I said 6 months, but it's actually already June. So it must be around 9-10 months that we've been going live every week on the same channels at the same time. And it has been amazing as a way for me to connect with all of you and our community. However, we have a plan to relaunch CEO Diaries in an even new and more improved way. So I won't be here at the same time, same place next week, but keep an eye out in just a few weeks when we do relaunch CEO Diaries in its new format. We will let all of you know by email. I'm also now going to be running a CEO forum for our members inside the platform. So this will be on Zoom, so we can speak more directly than we can at the moment in this format. So keep an eye out for that event when it's scheduled and join it. Essentially, it's going to be a discussion on a topic that, a strategic topic or a business challenge topic that can help you step up into the CEO and the leader that you need to be to run your online business and grow your online business successfully. So yeah, keep an eye out as we schedule that forum in as well. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up and just say thank you. I know we've had some people who are, I can see your names on here now, have been joining this religiously every week. So thank you so much. It's really made it a pleasure for me to host these sessions with all of you. And I look forward to connecting with you under our new format and in the platform. Awesome. And then I hope you all have beautiful days and great rest of the week. And I will speak with you all soon. Bye.